Brian Westbrook here on Golic and Wingo. All right, Brian, as we pointed out, as you so happily pointed out, you were a Philadelphia Eagle. You've played under Andy Reid. Andy Reid's now a Super Bowl champion. I don't know that he needed this, Brian, to validate who he's been. Not to me, at least, even as a Cowboy fan. But to a lot of people, I think it was necessary. So where is Andy Reid in the all-time coaching hierarchy?
Well, I mean, I think you have Bill Belichick, and he's kind of in a room and a place of his own. And then right after that, you talked about the success that Andy Reid has had. I mean, he has to be right up there with some of the best coaches, especially after winning the Super Bowl this season. But just remember where the Philadelphia Eagles were pre-Andy Reid. They were a 3-13 football team. They were just not very good. Andy Reid comes in his first year. They win 5 games. The next year, they go on to win 11 games. And then, 5 NFC championship appearances and a Super Bowl appearance for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, you kind of get lost and out of Philadelphia, moves out to Kansas City. And the Kansas City Chiefs, a lot of people forget, they were 2-14 before Andy Reid got there. Andy Reid brings in organization and discipline and attention to detail. They go 11-5 his following year, make the playoffs. And now over the last 2 years, of course, they won the Super Bowl this year. But last year they were in the AFC Championship game and really an offside penalty away from being in the Super Bowl last year. So, when I look at Andy in the course of his career, in 21 years, he's only had 3 losing seasons, which is impressive right there. And so I certainly think he's a Hall of Fame coach. I personally believe that he was a Hall of Fame coach prior to winning the Super Bowl. But you add that ring to your resume, it just makes him one of the best coaches that has ever lived.
100% agree with that as we're talking to Brian Westbrook with the Eagles from 2002 to 2009. But so all around football, we all think that. But, Brian, let's go to Philadelphia. So I played in the era of Buddy Ryan, and Buddy Ryan absolutely revered in Philadelphia, especially if we played on the defensive side of the ball. You loved it. But we never won a playoff game under Buddy, and he was beloved. And you just rattled off what Andy Reid did in Philadelphia. And, I mean, it doesn't seem like he got the respect there from the fans, which shocks me because he won way more than Buddy did, who was beloved there. So not taking anything away from Buddy Ryan, why do you think in Philadelphia the feeling was that way toward Andy?
Well, I think when you look at the way things ended in Philadelphia, with the team not really responding to the coach, where Andy, of course, not winning any of those Super Bowl opportunities. And, of course, when you go to the NFC Championship game 5 times, you're saying you're hoping to make the Super Bowl a couple of times and maybe win a Super Bowl from time to time. And Andy just wasn't able to get it done in Philadelphia from that way. And then you look at things that happened to the latter part of his tenure there, the dream team that kind of fizzled out there in Philadelphia. Then his last year just wasn't very good. I think you kind of add to that, and this is just how Philadelphia is, that he was a coach that would go there in front of the media and say, it's all my fault. Don't blame the players. I'll handle the players myself, but put all the blame on me. And at some point, the media and the fans began to say, you know what, that's not good enough. That's not the answer that we want. We want you to put blame on some players. We want you to point the finger. And Andy was never that type of guy. And so because of that, a lot of the fans and some of the media members kind of turned on him, especially when things began not going very well toward the latter part of his tenure there. And so I think a lot of people at this point in Philadelphia are just saying, well, he won a Super Bowl, but he wasn't a head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles when he won it. And we kind of, are looking at him sideways. But as a former player, I appreciate everything that Andy was able to do there in Philadelphia, especially for my career. I understand the mentality of the head coach, and I also understand the thought process that I don't want to throw any of my players underneath the bus. And that's the type of coach that Andy was. And, again, that's why so many of his former players absolutely love him.
Talking to Brian Westbrook, former Philadelphia Eagles running back with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You mentioned Andy Reid, now a Super Bowl champion, and we see that relationship with him and Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes' performance in the Super Bowl was the MVP moment of the week, brought to you by Sport Clips. Cut the weight, download the new Sport Clips Haircuts app, and check in. And you mentioned all that, Brian, and I really wanted to get into that more of why it seems like all these players are so invested in Andy Reid's success. You saw Mahomes, Travis Kelce, all of these guys so vocal about their praise for Andy Reid, day to day, week in and week out, not just the moments we see on the outside. What is it like playing for Andy Reid coached football teams?
Well, the thing that I think every player in the NFL actually wants, whether they know it or not, is discipline. They want consistency, and they want to do things the right way. And I just think every player, for the most part, wants to do that. And Andy Reid gives you the opportunity to be an adult because he's not going to overcoach you. He's not going to give you a bunch of rules that you can't follow. He's going to say, you got a couple rules. Be respectful and be on time. And if you can do those things, that's a good start, and we can take it from there. And when you look at the players that he's been around, you have to say that there's been some great personalities, there's been some great players, and Andy has allowed them to be themselves. And to many players, that's just exactly what you need. The other part about Andy Reid is that the best coaches that I've ever had, Andy Reid included, the late, great Morgan Wooten, the high school basketball coach included, they're coaching their sport and actually coaching you about life at the same time. And if you can just think about that, think about how right now, I'm 40 years old, I have 3 kids, that I'm telling them some of the same things that Andy Reid told me as a running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, that's kind of a scary thing. It's kind of one of those things your parents get smarter as you get older type of things, because Andy Reid was able to coach, he was able to teach, he was able to do all those things as a father figure for so many guys in the NFL for a long time, and be able to coach you at football at the same time. And that was kind of special. One of those things that many players around the league that have played for Andy certainly appreciate.
We're so glad you're watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, make sure you subscribe to ESPN Plus. We'll see you there.